Would you like to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Speakeasy and master connector Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on this planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome everyone back to another amazing episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I am your host, Lou Diamond, and today on Thrive Loud, we have someone who is committed to pushing the boundaries of what the human body and spirit can achieve. She's an adventurer, speaker, and psychologist. And she's an Aussie, which means she's pretty darn cool. She survived a death-defying rock climbing accident and has come back to set speed records for the Volcanic 7 summits. Thrive Loud listeners, I am honored and so excited to have this conversation with Caroline Leon. Caroline, welcome to Thrive Loud.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
I am delighted to have you. I learned of your story. I checked you out and I started to follow your adventures and also follow you on social because I don't know if I could follow you to the peaks that you've been going to of late. Unbelievable story. And for me to even just continue to talk is silly. Here's what I want to do. I want to do a little rewind. I don't want to go all the way back to the womb, but I kind of want to go back to how this journey began on this almost key moment in your life that changed a lot of who you are, what you do, and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so we're talking about my accident now. Basically it's actually now 10 years ago. I had a life-threatening rock climbing accident. I was climbing an outdoor wall and obviously I fell, or the peg came off and I lost my grip. And I ended up falling like 12 to 15 meters and breaking my entire body. Both my feet shattered, my right foot came out of my body, my leg disconnected, my pubic bone like snapped off, and my spine went.
Oh,
And I found myself on the floor and kind of like in a little fetal position. And that's kind of when this whole crazy journey started, really.
so first of all, I am so glad that you are back here with us today. I mean, let's call it what it is. This is these accidents. How long had you been climbing at that time beforehand? Was this early on in your climbing life, or was it you'd been doing it for a while?
No, look, I wasn't ever a professional climber. I was kind of recreational. I'd obviously growing up in Australia, everybody's very adventurous. So I had climbed the cliffs in Coogee, and they're like 100-meter cliffs, and climbed all the way up, sat at the top, checked out the surf, climbed all the way down, unharnessed, no shoes, in a swimming costume. And I did that all my life. So when it came to kind of like just climbing, I was never professional, but just like, my body knew what to do. I had kind of the hang of it. So yeah, it's interesting.
So Caroline, obviously not in a good physical position. Share with the listeners the road to recovery, because you obviously had many surgeries. You're sitting here today. Give us what that looked like from getting to, I guess, the first emergency responder to getting back on your own feet.
Yeah, look, it took 4 years really. And to be honest with you, it was probably the hardest 4 years of my life. The first year was particularly rough. Like after I fell, obviously I was completely conscious and awake. And I remember like trying to get up and not actually being able to. And then I rolled onto my right side and I felt all the bones in my pelvis move separately. Then I rolled onto my left side and I just remember like seeing blood all around me and people were freaking out because my foot was out of my body. Like it completely ruptured through the skin and was on the floor everywhere. And then I just lay there and I remember just listening to the beating of my heart and just being very, very present. And the first person that I remember feeling was the obviously the ambulance, the paramedic who tapped my shoulder, and he was trying to get my attention and asking me if I was okay and if I could hear his voice. And I was like, "Yeah, I can hear you," but I kind of came back, even though I didn't go anywhere. But in my head, I was kind of in my own world.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I felt him tap my shoulder, and then obviously I went into the medical machine. They drove me to to the hospital, and I spent 2 months in hospital. I had 14 surgeries, so every 2 or 3 days I was having a major reconstruction. So first I had rods put in my spine, and then I had the shattered part of my spine because it kind of exploded everywhere. They actually removed it through my rib cage.
Oh,
Then I had my whole pelvis reconstructed, my right leg reattached. Then they reattached my pubic bone. Then I had both my feet reconstructed, and then I had like multiple surgeries to my right foot because obviously it had come out of the skin. And look, 2 months in hospital, you're lying completely flat, you can't move. You're obviously you have a catheter, you don't really eat a lot, so you don't go to the bathroom, but it's it's rough, and you're on morphine and then like 5 rounds of pain medication and blood transfusions that are coming in all the time, so you're always like delirious and hot and sweaty, and
mm.
just you don't really know where the world is or where you start and where the world ends. It's really wild. And then when I got out of hospital, it was like another year of being in a hospital bed at home. So my friends and family had bought a hospital bed. They bought a wheelchair, a commode, a changing table, like a Zimmer frame. It
Mm.
was like I was 100.
Yeah.
And I went from a hospital bed in a hospital to a hospital bed at home. And I spent the next year like learning how to sit up, learning how to roll onto my side, learning how to roll onto the other side, learning how to like move my legs, learning how to go to the bathroom again, and how to like sit still without being in agony, and learning how to get myself in a wheelchair and then roll myself to the bathroom so I could shower myself.
Mm.
Like it's very slow and grim and morbid, and yeah,
I,
it's
Caroline, I'd love to know not the physical component of this because you're a psychologist. I want to know what was going on between your ears, what your mindset was like during this. And look, obviously, to your point, you just walked through a couple of steps of achievement, and it's always easier to look back at the steps going through. But when you were in it, I mean, obviously, there must have been obviously a frustration, or was there? What were you in at that point, like from your mindset on where you needed to get every day?
To be honest with you, at the time, I wasn't a psychologist. This is
Yeah.
something that I delved into afterwards. But to be really frank, at the time, at the very beginning, when I was in hospital, it was like just surviving that next minute. And so I wasn't thinking about the future because anytime someone would talk to me about the future, it was so morbid. Like doctors were telling me I was never going to walk, I was never going to have children. And then it was like, oh, okay, now that your spine's okay, you might walk, but you'll always be disabled and you'll always have a limp and you'll never walk properly and you'll always be in pain. So thinking about the future was something that I shut myself out from, and I was just surviving this 1 second. And this 1 second, most of the time I was just in so much pain that I was just trying to breathe through it or get help so I was slightly more comfortable. And at the time, because I was having so many surgeries and blood transfusions, to be honest with you, I just receded into a part of myself that wasn't totally cognizant.
Yeah.
So, for example, like this is the best example that I can give. I had loads of friends that brought me all these books to read, and I remember picking up a book and I couldn't read the word or understand the sentence. So, like, I would read like, oh, like the cat is going to the park or something like that, and I would read the first word and I would get cat, and then by the time I got to the end, I couldn't remember the first word and I didn't understand what it meant
Mm. Wow.
together. So that's kind of my mental state, that it was just so overwhelming to even read that I just put that away. But later on, when I got out of hospital, it was just like in my head, it was just a very dark place.
Mm.
No future, no present, no, like, I didn't really understand how I was going to move forward. And what I started to do, which was really interesting, is that I started not listening to the voice inside my head because it was just so negative. And I just started to listen to other people's voices. So I was listening to audiobooks and podcasts, and I was listening to other people's memoirs of people that had done really amazing things, and their stories were just like, so I listened to Nelson Mandela,
Yeah.
being trapped in prison, and I was listening to Amy Purdy, who had like both her legs
Yeah.
amputated, and I was listening basically to a lot of disabled athletes. So I was listening to, yeah, all these people that had like, I listened to this other beautiful book about this guy who had been in prison for 30 years of his life. So I was just listening to memoirs, and obviously I wasn't working. I was in a hospital bed at home. I couldn't move. I didn't have anything to do, and I couldn't really watch TV because it was just, for some reason, it was just too much.
Mm.
So I would just put earphones on, and I would have one earphone in, and I was listening to someone else's voice, someone else's story. And then I started listening to Tony Robbins, and
Yeah.
like I started listening to, oh, his name has left my head, but all of these other inspirational people. And the second I would take my earphones off, I was back to my own darkness and back to this, like, the reality of being here. So I put my earphones back on and listened to somebody else until I started to believe their words. And I started to feel inspired by, like, oh, if she had both her legs cut off, I still have my legs. Maybe I can learn how to do something with them.
Mm.
Maybe I can learn how to walk again. Maybe I can learn how to stand. Maybe I'm going to try. And so it kind of like started like that.
Uh,
And
Um,
then
uh,
I tried and I'd fail.
yeah. No, keep going. Keep going. I don't want to, I'm not interrupting this flow. You try, you
Yeah, it
fail, and you
was,
kept going after each new step and probably didn't even know that you were advancing. I
yeah,
mean, kept getting further and further.
yeah. Yeah, that's like at first it was about like I was learning how to roll onto my side, and then I would drop my hospital bed all to the floor, and I was working with a therapist, so we were crawling. She was teaching me how to be on all fours,
Mm.
and that, like, my body was shaking, and I'd be there for 2 minutes, and then I'd lay down and I was exhausted and I'd cry, and then she'd be like, "Okay, let's do one more." And then I'd sleep for 20 hours because, like, just putting myself into a 4 point kneeling position was so much work, and it was so hard and overwhelming. And then the next day I would just try it again. So it was like I was living in a universe of microness. Everything was like the tiniest, babyest thing. And I was
Mm.
just trying to get through that tiny baby thing.
To to say, I mean, to think about where you were, and there's one thing to recover, which is a miracle and an unbelievable sense of spirit that you represent, to have gotten through what you gotten through, to walk, to move, to function, to think, to read, maybe not watch too much TV, all of these things that would have happened to you after. Um, it's a whole other thing to do what you've done. I would love to hear the little bit of the fast forward version, Caroline, of okay, you got back healthy again, and then you wanted to climb again. When did that all come together? What was the logic of that for you?
It's so hard to explain the logic of it because there was just no logic in any of it. But the best way that I can describe this is that I was like, it's like I had died, like, literally. And and I just didn't know how to make myself come back to life. I didn't know how to feel inspired, or how to love life again, or how to not be afraid of everything. Because, like, there came a point where I would even stand on a balcony and I'd have heart palpitations and fear, and I was sweating, and I'd have to like have a panic attack because just standing next to a balcony was so scary. And I remember there was a moment where I was flying to Australia a lot at the time because I was doing rehab in Australia. And I went to Australia, and one of my friends had done this Guinness World Record, and he was like, "Do you want to go climb Mount Kosciuszko?" And I was like, "What?" And like, I'm disabled. I can't go climb a mountain. He's like, "It's just a hike. It's only 6 hours." He's like, "If anything happens to you, I'll carry you." And I was like, I don't understand what you're asking me to do here, but sure, I'll come with you and we can go hike this mountain. It's like the smallest mountain in the world, but to me it was massive. So we go to Kosciuszko, we climb this mountain, we get to the top and it's so windy, can't see anything. And I sat on this little pillar at the top and my hair was going everywhere. And I was like, oh my God, this is what it feels like to be alive. Like I feel alive. And I'm like, oh, wow. And I could just feel it like in my heart, in my lungs, in all of me. And then after that, I was like, okay, I want to climb another mountain. And I knew that I was disabled. I was still limping. I was still using crutches most of the time. I couldn't walk on my own. I could walk like anyway, the whole point is that we climbed this mountain and I couldn't even walk down. I had to get the park rangers to drive us down because I cried and I was in so much pain, but I felt amazing. And that's kind of how it started. I was like, oh, this is making me feel alive. I need to do this again. And so then I came back to Dubai and I was pondering it and I was like, okay, well, what can I do? And I was like, I live in the Middle East. Like maybe I should just go climb all the mountains in the Middle East. And then I decided to do that. And I went to Iraq, Iran, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon. Um, yeah, just every country in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, everywhere basically. And I went to each country high point and climbed the mountains. Some of them are really big, like in Turkey, the mountain is 5,200 meters. It
Mm.
kicked my ass. And that's, yeah, that's kind of how it all started. So every mountain that I went to, the mountain beat me up a little bit and I came back a little bit stronger. And at the time, I was so devoid of whatever it is that animates a human being that I felt like there was some kind of transference between the mountain. So, like, I was going there as a broken woman, and the mountain was kind of like imparting this wisdom on me and healing me to a certain degree. And I just felt like, oh, I'm learning this from this mountain. And then I learned something else from another mountain. And that's really how it all started.
It's kind of cool because when you were bedridden, it was voices in your head that were inspiring you that there was hope. And then obviously as you continued to move up, even a higher power, so to speak, would be the thing that was calling to you, literally, in the mountains that you would go to, which is awesome. I want to get a status for you. Do you still feel pain when you walk and move today?
Look, most of the time, no. And I think there was a transition point about, when was it? Maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, where I was climbing and I would finish a mountain and my feet would get so swollen and my hip would hurt and my back would hurt. And the more I climbed, it kind of started to really diminish.
Hmm.
And yeah, about 2 years ago, it stopped. Like sometimes I still get aches and pains and I injure new things and then I'm trying to rehab those things. Um, but the injuries that I sustained during my accident, most of the time, like 95% of the time, I don't have any problems because of that. It's kind of gotten to a point where everything's okay. But it took like 8 years, 9 years.
When I have thought leaders, inspirational people, speakers, whatever, come on the program, I like asking this question. I want to hear this. You go out and you speak about the recovery and the adventure in you and the power of the human body and spirit, which is inspirational to so many. Your own story is inspirational. And to anyone listening to this program, watching you right now, or and hearing you in the stages that you talk on, there's a gift that we receive that you're giving to us. But there's always this happy accident that comes back to the content creator, the speaker, him or herself. Caroline, I'd love to know, when you share your message, what comes back to you? What's the gift that gives back to you? And talking about this journey, this thing that you do, the helping people with their climbing, doing the climbing and leading them as well. I would love to hear how that message is resonating back to you.
I think what I get the most is like hope. Like, I think I received so much of it, and I feel like my story gives it back, and then I also receive it back from people. It's just like hope that, we are not bound by what happens to us, but really what we do about it and how we think about it. And that when we liberate ourselves to be exactly who we're meant to be and who we are inside, that I feel like the universe conspires to allow you to do that. And it's happened in my own life, and I see it when I talk to other people, that hope and kind of inspiration. And yeah, I hope that answered your question.
I know it did. And I think a lot of our listeners think it did as well. I would love, Caroline, for you to talk about what you've just recently done. We're recording this in late July 2025. And what's coming up down the road, or shall we say up the hill?
So yeah, I climbed Everest. It's still so weird to say that. Like, how did I do that? I have no idea. Yeah, and it actually happened at the 10-year anniversary of my accident. So I climbed Everest on 10 years. I didn't mean to do it, but it happened. And I feel like it was kind of the culmination of like the end of that chapter of my life. Like, oh, like now I can actually believe that I'm not disabled anymore and that everything's okay. And I know it because I climbed Everest.
And by the way, it's unbelievable. Like, think about it. Like that Kosciuszko hill or hump or mountain that you've climbed to one of the largest peaks in the world. I mean, is which so few people on this planet have ever done, let alone somebody that nearly wasn't even able to be in this conversation here and survived it, which is just awesome. What's next for Caroline as it relates to climbing or work and what's going on? You can use this as your plug section, if you would, to talk about what's coming down the road, because everybody's got to go watch all of her videos and social. We'll put all the links for that, but let's hear from you. What's next?
So what really kind of impacted me when I was on Everest, surprisingly, two things. Also, like the magnitude of how beautiful these mountains are, because they're really just so majestic, and it really made me realize, that perhaps, the Buddhists, the Nepali Buddhists there really had it right when they called the mountains sacred and when they called them deities and goddesses and gods, because they're so majestic and it's just so beautiful. But one thing that I really noticed is that there's so much trash there, so much trash. And I feel like that didn't really sit well with me. I kept going from camp to camp and just saying like I have a video of it because it was just, I couldn't take my eyes off it. It's like hundreds of bottles of oxygen and discarded trash and pots and pans and broken tents and just crap that people had left behind. And so I think what I want to do next is actually go back to the really big mountains and try and clean them up.
Oh, wow.
Do some kind of cleanup project.
That.
Because I feel like they're just so majestic and they don't really deserve to be left in tatters. Yeah, I think if we climb them, we have to conserve them too.
Okay. I love the passion here. Not only are you driven inside, but you care about the planet that's giving back to you. This is really good stuff, Caroline. I knew we'd go down this avenue, but I'm loving where it's going. Let's do the admin part of the show. Share with the listeners where everybody can learn about you, find you, hire you, do whatever it is. We'll put it in the show notes, but it gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
Yeah, so probably my Instagram is the best place. It's caroline.d for Danielle and then .leon. And I have a YouTube channel as well that's called Summit Stories. And those are probably the best two places that you can come find me and follow all my crazy mountain adventures.
Love it. Are you ready? And I know you are, because this is literally a molehill compared to what you've climbed in your life. Are you ready to go down Fun Street with me here?
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
it.
Caroline, I would like to know if you have an all-time favorite movie.
Yeah, I love Interstellar.
Oh, and why does it connect so much with you?
Because it's like about possibilities, yeah, I love the expansiveness of it and the message about love
Yeah.
that like love transcends all and that we're all interconnected. You know, those like physics principles because we think love is this intangible thing. Just like I feel like we think that intuition and that quiet voice inside us is this intangible thing, but I think it's just so much bigger. And kind of Interstellar kind of puts it into like pretty pictures and a nice story that helps everyone understand.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to do what we call the Speakeasy Pub Crawl. We're going to stop at all the places on Fun Street that matter the most to you. And these are your favorite hotspots. Here we go. Of late, Caroline, is there a song that you love to listen to? Or maybe there's one that you listen to when you're climbing. I have no idea. Favorite tune of yours?
Yeah, so recently I've been listening, actually on Everest, I was listening to Kind Music. It's like they've got a Mind Warrior, like what is it, Burning Man playlist from
Okay.
like a couple of years ago that on Everest I was like, yes, I can do this. I can go up this mountain.
That's awesome. What a favorite food that is not a dessert?
They're mostly all desserts. Definitely pizza. I got a little obsessed with pizza on Everest.
Okay. Do they have a good pizza place up there? Is it something I should know? Should we send David Portnoy to go there to do it?
So when you go to Namche Bazaar, like we would fly in and out of Namche Bazaar. So Namche is like this little tea house town at the very bottom of the Khumbu. And honestly, after being at base camp for like weeks and weeks and weeks, when we went down to Namche, we were just like gorging on these like huge pizzas. I don't know if they're any good or if it's just like my Everest thing
Could be.
that I was like, this is the best pizza in the world.
That's amazing. What is one of your favorite desserts? We'll just pick one.
Oh, chocolate.
Chocolate.
Any form of chocolate.
Any form of chocolate. An activity you wish you did more of?
Diving.
Diving. So we're going now below as opposed to going up now, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
An activity you wish you did less of?
Injuring myself.
Has there been a recent injury above and beyond or just from the last hike?
Yeah, just like when I was on just before Everest, I tore the meniscus in my left knee,
Oh my God.
and now it's bugging me again. Yeah. So I think I'd like to not injure myself anymore. Like I want to be done with that part of my life.
Understood. A new activity, one that you've recently tried that you like so much you want to tell everybody else to try.
No, I haven't done anything except climb Everest and then come back and just eat.
Which I would say is a new activity for most people. So maybe that's something they should work on. If I could,
Yeah.
if I could snap my fingers, and you could be anywhere in the world that is not a mountain peak, where would you be?
With my family.
Awesome. And they're all in Australia, and you're in Dubai, right? Just giving everybody where you were at and everything, right?
Yeah, so I'm in Dubai, but actually my family live in the States. So my little sister's in Miami and my older sister's in LA. So yeah, I
You
would
got
I
to
would
come and visit.
be with them.
We're down in South Florida. Come on, visit. Well, we'll hang out when you're here.
Yeah.
The only negative
Yeah.
for you, Caroline, is this is definitely the flattest location on the entire planet. Let's just make it clear. I'm pretty sure the speed bump at the end of the street is the highest peak we have in this whole area.
I live in Dubai. Dubai is the flattest place as well too.
Too much.
I love flat and hot.
Caroline Leon, everybody go check her out. We'll put all the links in the show notes. It's such an honor to be here. Great to share your story. Keep sharing your story. It is inspirational. And I'm hoping that there's someone right now who has an AirPod, unfortunately, maybe in their ears because they're not in a position and they got a chance to hear this as a way for them to be inspired to do what's next. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for continuing to inspire all of us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You
It's
got
been
it.
great.
To all our listeners and viewers out there, thank you for joining us. Till next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.